Court. The funeral of Senator Tim Johnson.
A workhorse, a guy who got things done.
Playing the role of a 20th century Robin Hood.
He kept his nose to the grindstone. He loved to work, and he did it very well.
In South Dakota alone,
he fought all the time, to campaign or for his constituents. Yeah, he never gave up.
Knew that he was paying attention to you, and he cared about your perspectives and your opinions, and he wanted to be supportive.
This country meets its commitments to its elderly.
Although Tim Johnson and I ran against each other, we were friends. I don't know if many people know that or not, but I considered him a friend.
Tim was always respectful. I really did consider him a friend.
I'm going to do everything in my power to see to it that we have.
His partnership, his friendship, his sense of humor, his commitment to public service inspired me, and I think made me a better senator.
Thank you for joining us for this KELOLAND News special report. Former U.S. Senator Tim Johnson never lost an election and was the longest-serving public official in South Dakota history.
And during his time in Washington, Johnson impacted everything from health care to farming and from military funding to water projects. His work continues to touch all corners of South Dakota.
Last week, the 77-year-old died from complications of a stroke. Today, people from across the country are coming together to pay their respects and celebrate his life. Johnson's funeral will get underway in a half hour. Before it begins, we're looking back at his life and legacy.
His career took from Vermillion, South Dakota, all the way to our nation's capital. A young Tim Johnson began his political career in the state legislature back in 1979. It became the foundation for a long and storied political career with plenty of triumphs and tragedies. In 1987, Johnson was elected to South Dakota's lone seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. During his tenure in Congress, Johnson supported many infrastructure projects that delivered clean drinking water to communities all across South Dakota and other states, like the Lewis-and-Clark Water Pipeline and the Minnewachuny Water Project that gave the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation safe and ample water supplies. In 1996, Johnson decided to make a move and run for the U.S. Senate. He narrowly defeated three-term Republican Senator Larry Pressler. In 2002, Johnson ran for re-election and was challenged by his successor in the House, Congressman John Thune. It was a night many of us will never forget. The votes were slow to come in, and most of us had already gone to bed thinking Thune had won the race after CBS declared Thune the winner. But by daybreak, things had changed. After all the votes had been counted, it was Johnson who won by 524 votes. We sat down with Johnson and his wife Barbara after Thune gave his concession speech.
At any point, did you ever think, I'm going to lose?
Well, I don't think we thought that, but I was concerned for a while there. You know, we started out with a pretty big lead, and then it eroded down until we were behind for a while. We knew what precincts were still out, though. We knew which precincts we could win and which ones were going to be more difficult. And so we always knew that this was still within reach.
4 years later, in December of 2006, Johnson suffered a brain hemorrhage. His recovery took nearly a year, and in September of 2007, he returned to the Senate to both tributes and standing ovations. He summed up his return like this.
This feels good, and I'm ready to go.
In an exclusive interview, I sat down with the senator and his wife shortly after he decided to run for re-election in 2008.
Knowing the balance in Washington favoring Democrats right now, I have to ask this question with a slight edge leaning towards the Democrats. Has there ever been any pressure put on you by Democratic leadership in Washington not to resign?
No. My take on it is that neither party has a monopoly on good ideas or bad ideas. The important thing is for a state like South Dakota to choose the best of the party's ideas and reject the worst of the party's ideas.
Why not resign and concentrate on your health?
Well, we're waiting to be seen if I resign, but I intend to keep on going, and that's the best therapy for me, is to keep going and have goals that I can realistically live up to.
Despite his physical condition, Johnson defeated Republican challenger Joel Dykstra with 62% of the vote. Johnson chose not to seek re-election in 2014. For those of you who knew Johnson well, he was much more than a politician. He cared about the people of South Dakota, especially those who were close to him.
He was a husband, brother, father, grandfather, and a good friend to many. KELOLAND's Perry Groten joins us live outside Our Savior's Lutheran Church in Sioux Falls, where people are gathering to say goodbye.
Well, good morning. We've been watching people file in all morning long to Our Savior's Lutheran Church ahead of Senator Johnson's funeral. Just moments ago, we saw U.S. Senator John Thune along with Governor Kristi Noem enter the building. Minutes before that, we saw U.S. Senator Mike Rounds go into the building as well. I was able to pop my head inside the church a while back, and I also saw former U.S. Congresswoman Stephanie Herseth Sandlin, who is now, of course, the president of Augustana University. There are several other dignitaries here, including current and former state legislators. I also saw former gubernatorial candidate Jamie Smith in there as well. Now, we're also expecting former Senator Tom Daschle to arrive because he's one of the scheduled speakers for Johnson's funeral. And we've been gathering reaction from across South Dakota ever since Tim Johnson died last week. I had the chance to speak with Johnson's chief of staff just the day after he learned of Johnson's passing. Dre Samuelson ran Tim Johnson's first successful campaign for Congress back in 1986.
He was very fiscally conservative, and he offered me $600 a month, which wasn't a lot to live on, but I took it because I was so impressed with him.
Samuelson would then go on to serve as Tim Johnson's chief of staff for 28 years. He says he spent more time with Johnson during that time than he did with members of his own family.
We were a lot alike. I mean, Tim was something of an introvert, and so am I. And so we weren't chatterboxes to each other, but we got to know each other and became not only, he was not only my boss, but he was my good friend, which makes this so hard.
Samuelson last visited Johnson Tuesday, just hours before he died.
Just overwhelming sadness. But I knew he was going to go, and and after seeing him the way that he was, it was, I mean, it's a cliche to say it was for the best, but it probably was. I mean, he was unconscious, and he was going to stay unconscious.
Samuelson says Johnson will be remembered for his courage and determination in returning to the Senate after suffering a brain bleed in 2006.
He was in a coma for like 3 weeks. When he came back, he had to teach himself how to talk again. And, for a senator, that's your tool of trade. But he did.
Johnson is the last Democrat to serve in a statewide office in South Dakota. Samuelson says that shows Johnson's willingness to reach out across the aisle as a political centrist who always put South Dakota ahead of his party.
He was a great senator, an even better human being. And I'm going to miss him.
And again, this funeral starts at 10:30 this morning, just a few minutes from now. Now, the sanctuary seats about 550 people. There's also room for another chapel on the other side of the building. That seats another 550 people. And there are monitors in each of those areas where the people can watch the funeral as well from inside this church. Reporting live from Sioux Falls, I'm Perry Groten, KELOLAND News.
Thanks so much, Perry. Well, from a colleague at the U.S. Capitol to a political rival, our special report will continue after the break.
But first, no matter the issue, Tim Johnson was willing to work hard and compromise. He made that clear in his very first statewide campaign, and it continued throughout his career.
We made people in both parties comfortable with my candidacy. That was our strategy from the beginning, and that's who I am anyway. So it was a comfortable strategy to follow.
I think it's a good choice. I think that we need to get away from this Republican-Democrat combativeness that so often permeates Washington.
Neither political party's got all the answers. This is going to involve some give and take, and I'm hopeful that by the course of
by the end of this year, we'll have a much better sense of what we can do and actually get on with it for the sake of reforming health care for all Americans rather than scoring political points.